All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a system that is literally designed to put more money in your pocket for retirement. I'm talking about UK pension auto-enrollment. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty for the 2025 to 2026 tax year, so let's just dive right in. Let me start by asking you a question. What if your boss was legally required to give you free money for your retirement? Yeah, I know, it sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? But that is the powerful idea right at the very heart of the UK's pension system. And that system has a name: pension auto-enrollment. It's a huge government initiative where your employer doesn't just offer you a pension, they have to automatically sign you up for one. And here's the absolute best part: both your employer and the government chip in money to your pot. It is, without a doubt, one of the best tools you have for building your future wealth. So what's the logic here? Why was this whole system created in the first place? What's the big idea behind it? Well, the goal is actually super simple: get more of us saving for retirement. But the really clever bit is how it does it. See, instead of you having to fill out forms and actively join a pension, you're just in by default. The key here is that it's an opt-out system, not opt-in. It uses our own natural tendency to just leave things as they are for our own good. And the core benefit, the real kicker, is that your savings get an instant boost from your employer's cash and government tax relief. That all sounds amazing, but the big question on your mind is probably, okay, does this actually apply to me? Let's run through a really quick checklist for the 2025/2026 tax year and find out. Okay, so there are three main boxes your employer needs to tick. First up, your age. You've got to be at least 22, but still under the official state pension age. Second, pretty straightforward, you have to work in the UK. And third, your earnings have to be above a certain amount each year, and that's what's known as the earnings trigger. And for this tax year, 2025 to 2026, that key number, the earnings trigger, is £10,000. So let's put it all together. If you're between 22 and state pension age, you work here in the UK, and you earn over £10,000 a year, bingo, your employer is legally required to auto-enroll you. Now, what if you earn less than that? Well, you still have options. And this is important. If you earn between about £6,200 and £10,000, you won't be automatically enrolled, but, and this is a big but, you can ask to join the scheme. And if you do, your employer must contribute. If you earn less than that lower amount, you can still ask to join, but your employer isn't legally required to chip in. Though some will anyway, which is great. Okay, let's get to the part that everybody really wants to know about. How much money are we actually talking about here? Let's break down where it all comes from. The one number to really lock into your brain is 8%. This is the minimum total contribution that has to go into your pension pot, and it's based on a specific chunk of your earnings, which we'll get to in a sec. But here is the absolute best part of the entire system. You do not pay that 8% all by yourself, not even close. You contribute 4% from your pay. Your employer is forced to add another 3%, and then the government basically gives you a 1% top-up through tax relief. Just think about that for a second. For every £4 you put in, your pot grows by 8. You are literally doubling your money on day one. Now, there's a key detail we need to cover. That 8% isn't calculated on your entire salary. It's based on something called qualifying earnings. For this tax year, that just means it applies to the slice of your pay that falls between £6,240 and £50,270. You know what? The best way to get your head around this is just with a quick example. So let's pretend you're earning a salary of £20,000 a year. First thing we do is figure out your qualifying earnings. We take your 20 grand salary and we just subtract that lower limit of 6,240. That leaves us with 13,760. That is the number that your 8% total contribution is going to be based on. And here's what that looks like in actual cash over the year. Your 4% contribution comes to just over 550 quid. Your employer adds almost 413 quid, and the government throws in about 138 quid. So that's over £1,100 going into your pension, even though less than half of it actually came out of your pocket. That is the incredible power of this system. So, the money's flowing, your pension pot is growing. But how much of a say do you actually have in all this? Let's talk about your rights and your choices, because this is all about putting you in control. The easiest way to think about this is like a two-way street. Your employer has clear duties. They've got to check if you're eligible, they have to enroll you, they have to make their payments on time, and they need to tell you all this in writing. In return, you have some really powerful rights. The right to opt out, the right to join back in, and this is a big one, the right to be protected from anyone trying to pressure you to leave. Let's just zoom in on those rights. If you really decide this isn't for you, you get a 1-month window right after you're enrolled to opt out and get every penny back. If you change your mind down the line, you can always ask to rejoin. And this last point is absolutely vital. It is illegal for your employer to try and convince you or worse, force you to opt out. This is your decision and your decision alone. So when you're weighing your options, the most important thing is to frame the decision correctly. It's not just about stopping a small deduction from your pay. Opting out means you are actively turning down your employer's contribution. You're turning down the government's tax relief. You are, in effect, turning down that free money we talked about right at the beginning. At the end of the day, auto-enrollment creates this amazing situation where your future self is already saving for a better retirement by default. The only question left is, are you going to help them?